PJ, what might it look like if we needed to sort out an issue that we're having with an RV? You know, one that we owned, something like that. Let's say, you know, even the best of RVs out there, they're going to have things that break or go wrong or just aging components. Stuff. It's going to happen. So what do you do? Whether it be brand new to you, or you've been loving this RV for years, what do you do? Where do you start? What's the process going to be?
I don't know. That's a big question when something breaks. Everybody wants to know, who do I call? Who's going to pay for this?
Right.
Will somebody pay for this? Is this my fault? What can I expect to have happen here? So we're going to tell people, when things break, what do you do and who do you call?
Okay. All right. Well, with that, that's our topic for today. Welcome to the RV Small Talk podcast, where we talk about lightweight trailers, truck campers, and the people, places, and adventures that go right along with them. We are your hosts from Princess Craft RV. I am Clint.
I'm PJ, and Lindsay is not with us today.
We're going to miss a very real component of this podcast without her.
I know. It's always just one notch down in the fun factor.
Maybe
when
two.
Lindsay isn't
Right,
here. Yeah.
right.
Well, we're just going to have to be more lively than usual, Clint.
Okay.
Are you up to it?
No, this is the end of the day.
Okay. Well, nothing like honesty, right?
Oh, we'll try our best anyway. So everybody, don't forget that you can check out the show notes for these episodes and other episodes in general at rvsmalltalk.com. You can join us at Facebook. Just look up RV Small Talk. We are there. We have a page, but we also have a community group you can join up with. We're also on YouTube. So check out their channel. And if you are on either of those places, or better yet, both of those places, you can join us on Fridays, because at 12 o'clock or 12:30 on Fridays, that makes no sense, but we're going to leave it.
Well, we used to call it Noon Live, and now we just call it Friday Live, because everybody wanted 12:30.
Sure.
So there you have it.
So there we are. We are live on video on Facebook and on YouTube. So feel free to join us there, because why not? You can ask us questions directly. We can respond to them in real time. We can sometimes have a whole lot of fun, or you can bewilder us. So we like it all.
That's right. It's always fun. Nice to chat with everyone.
Don't forget, if you're in a podcast player, which you probably are, that you might have a chance to subscribe to our podcast. If you do, we suggest you do that. If you can leave a review and a rating, that really goes a long ways, especially in the Apple Podcast app. I don't know why, but it is true. But we won't hang there very long. Let's jump into this episode. PJ, let's talk about what to do when things aren't doing what they should do. I'm trying to find as many ways to say do.
I see that. Just don't say it twice.
Right. That would not be the thing to do.
That would make Lindsay laugh.
Yes. So anyways, let's, where do you want to start on this? Maybe with someone who's brand new, maybe not brand new to camping or RVing, but they have a brand new RV, like
That's
brand
right.
new.
Well, that's always the concern. What do you do when it breaks? So it's different under different circumstances. Right. And, at first I thought maybe this was kind of a weird topic, but the reality is it's always like, wait, which person do I call? And why isn't everything just jumping in and getting this fixed?
So a few things. In a perfect world, you would have a brand new, perfect, functioning, every component doing as it should, and it's their RV, if it's a new RV, in a perfect world.
That's right. Do you live in a perfect world? Because if you do, I want your world instead of mine.
Right. No, it is not. It is not a perfect world, and it's the RV industry is not as far along in delivering perfect things.
That's right.
As the automobile industry.
Well, I don't know why it seems so difficult, but cars have things that maybe something doesn't work when it's brand new, but for the most part, they're fairly dependable. So when people come to pick up an RV, they expect an auto delivery style product.
Right.
And auto manufacturers, they pretty much own the widget radio that they're ordering.
Right.
Whereas somehow in the RV industry, it seems a bit more unpredictable.
Sure.
They're not built in such large lots. Maybe they're not pre-tested as well before they're put into the component.
We had, and I forget who it was who was on our podcast as a guest, but we also have significantly less mechanical robotic automation in the construction practices.
Oh, absolutely. Have you ever seen the factories? I mean, I've never been there, but I've seen the pictures of the factories. Cars are built by robots.
Mostly, yeah. And everything
Very
is
crazy.
so precision and high tech in those worlds. Whereas in the RV industry, even in the top manufacturers out there, it's still by hand, by a team of people, a large team of people, sometimes new people on the production line.
And that radio may only have been built, for a year because this is a new model. And, it isn't as well tested.
Right.
So not only are the components not as dependable, but then it's more built by hand. So all that to just not throw 1,000 excuses at it. It's different than a car.
I think it's a good way to just to come at it and just say, okay, wait a second, let's understand what we're talking about. I get it. Some of these campers cost way more than our daily drivers. Honestly, we sell campers that if I look at them, I'm like, number one, it's a really cool camper, full feature. But if I look at it next to my two vehicles that my wife and I drive, that camper costs more than my two vehicles put together.
Sure. So you really expect it to perform.
Right.
And that is the first question that we're going to talk about. When it's brand new,
okay.
All right, the dealer actually goes through everything, tries to make sure everything works. We do a pre-PDI. And honestly, some dealerships do it better than others. But we have somebody who their job is to just turn everything on, be sure it works.
The first thing is safety. They're going through the safety checks, right? The gas components, the electrical components, and things like that.
We do all of that.
But they're also going through and open every cabinet door.
That's right. And do the shades pull down and go back up?
Out. That kind of stuff.
Does the bathroom cabinet latch correctly?
Right.
Is something maybe bolted on crooked? Anything like that.
Sure.
So, first of all, they're not perfect. They sometimes look at a lot of trailers in a day. And if they miss something, then it is up to the person that buys that trailer to say, hey, this isn't working right.
Right.
What usually happens is that there is something on it that worked fine or turned on.
Right. During the check.
During the check. And you drive to a campsite, and because we try to run everything on the water pump. We try to run everything every way we can, but we can't hook a trailer up to a hydrant and run it for an hour.
Right.
We can't. We can't run an air conditioner for 12 hours.
Right.
There's things that we can't do.
And we're not really even supposed to take these things that far off a property. We're not supposed to PDI it and run it,
run it around to see what shakes loose.
A 3-hour trip to a campsite and then hook it up to, a suspect water provider.
True. That's true. So there's all kinds of things that we can't do. So when it rattles down the road, you plug it in, something else sometimes is discovered.
Sure.
So first of all, what's your first reaction if that happened to you?
Well, I think my first reaction is bummer,
Yeah, bummer.
and maybe even to the point of being upset that I bought something that isn't perfect. I think that's human nature. You buy something, particularly if it has stickers and all that still on it, it has all the brand new manuals, everything that has the new smell.
Yes.
You really want it to be perfect.
So who are you going to be mad at? That's the question.
The point of contact, the dealership, maybe your salesperson, maybe the technician that you did the show out with you, maybe even the finance guy, because they're the one who took that money. I don't know.
I think I'd just be mad at everybody.
I think mad at the world. And I think that my first knee-jerk reaction, right or wrong, and I think this is what we see all the time here, right or wrong, my first knee-jerk reaction is someone at the dealership or the dealership as a whole.
The dealership didn't check this out well enough. They should have caught this. And the other natural reaction is, maybe I got a crappy product. Maybe this isn't as good as I thought.
Right.
I can't tell you
Buyer's
how many times
remorse.
I hear, I paid $60,000 for this. It ought to be perfect. Yeah, I totally understand, but sometimes it's not. And sometimes the dealership misses things. Yes, they shouldn't have, but it happens.
Yeah.
So the question we're going to answer here is, what do you do next?
Well, as the consumer, I'm going to find a point of contact. I'm going to phone in, listen to what the menu is, or get the person and say, who do I talk to? Or I'll probably say, I'm on the first name basis with my salesperson. I'm going to talk to someone I'm on the first name basis with if I can. It feels more powerful, more valid. Or if I have the phone number of someone higher up, maybe I know their name because I've seen them on YouTube or something like that. I might throw that name in there.
Well, of course. And I think that is a very natural reaction.
Right.
So what I would recommend that people do, don't get angry and throw your weight around. It doesn't get your camper fixed any faster.
Right.
Because later on, you very often regret being what we call in our dealership, that guy.
Oh.
And we call it that. Why? Because everybody says, I don't want to be that guy.
Oh, that's a red flag.
Yeah. But, and that's very common.
To me, that's like someone coming into a situation going, I don't do drama. Oh,
you are drama.
But you do.
It is so funny.
Yeah.
So, I understand where they're coming from, but the right thing to do is, and a reaction is either to call somebody higher up or call your salesperson. The right thing to do, even if it's brand new, is call their service department.
Okay.
Call the dealership service department. Here's my name. Here's the trailer. I picked it up on such and such a date. Here's the problem that I have. Why call the service department? Number one, they're going to understand better what the problem is.
Okay.
Number two, it might be operator error.
Right. And they might be able to.
And they will be the person who will see that the best.
Right.
So, and then, the next thing is if you do need service, they're the people who can help you get a service appointment or find a place to fix that.
Well, a salesperson might be very knowledgeable, but the fact is, if something isn't working right, the salesperson has to get you in the hands of the department that it's their day in and day out job to work with things just not working or parts procurement or warranty claims and all that. So why add that step in the middle when there's someone waiting?
Yeah. Well, it's not that your salesperson doesn't care.
No.
They care. They're just not in the job of fixing things.
Right.
They can't fix it for you.
And I get it in a perfect world. Again, this perfect world thing, a salesperson in any industry, whether it be automotive or RVs or something like that, will know their product down to the smallest bit, every component, how to program your VCR level kind of stuff. And, our salesmen know their stuff very well. However, they aren't quite as intimate with the stuff as someone who is in our shop who deals with the slide out components. Well, they don't know the brake components quite so well. They can talk in a very real sense about it, but they might not really put their hands on these things like the guys in the shop.
It's kind of like buying a Dell computer.
No,
you
dude,
call
you're
up
getting a
the
Dell?
customer service guy and you talk to the Dell salesman because you want to buy one. Well, once it gets there, you don't call your salesman back because he doesn't understand how to troubleshoot it.
Right.
So you talk to the service guy, the warranty guy, and they can troubleshoot it for you.
Yeah.
So that is what I recommend in a dealership. Now let's talk real briefly about different types of problems.
Oh, some things that we've heard?
Yeah. I mean, it could be that you're not getting a good picture on your TV. It could be that the blinds broke when you pulled them down.
Okay.
It could be small operational things that aren't really stopping you in your tracks.
Okay, so
that's when the service department is your first call. What happens if it's something else, maybe something bigger?
Can I throw a few ideas out here? Okay, so you have you've got a brand new trailer or something like that, and you notice that the components, the appliances or whatever in your trailer is not what you saw on the manufacturer website or in their videos or in their brochures, you name it. Maybe not even in a dealership's videos, because we make videos and they're made, we record them on a day and you might see the video a couple months later and you might purchase the trailer a couple months after that.
That's right.
So the one that you have the keys to now and all the paperwork and financial obligation to, what if it doesn't have the same vent hood in it or doesn't have a vent hood at all?
Well,
what if it doesn't have the same water heater that you expected?
So are you complaining that it's not the same product you expected to buy after you took it home? You figured that out? Or are you complaining that it's not operating correctly?
I think I'm starting with the equipment. It just isn't the same as what was supposedly advertised.
Well, if the equipment isn't the same, okay.
As what your eyes saw somewhere.
As what you saw online somewhere.
Right. Okay.
Well, manufacturers change all the time. It doesn't have to be mid-year. So things will move. They will migrate. They will figure out a problem and they'll fix it right there on the run.
Right.
Or they found that something is not operating as well as it could, so they move it.
Okay.
Okay? Nothing you can do about that. That is something that, as a buyer, you need to catch when you're on your walkthrough. If you are unhappy with where it is, or if it's not what you expected.
Right.
That's a salesman issue when you buy it. Once you take it home, unless it's really impeding the usefulness of the trailer for you, then you can always call your salesperson and talk to them about it.
What if it's something that's kind of tucked in a little bit? A water heater. Okay. What if the water heater is different? What if the way the water heater is maintained isn't what you thought was the case?
Well, anything like that is not what you expected is always a salesman issue.
Okay.
Anything that is operational, that is not operating, is a service issue.
Okay.
So that's the differentiation there. That word.
I can't cut that. It's
I know.
baked into the podcast.
Any screw ups, Clint doesn't cut. So you get the real deal, folks. But then there's big things. Okay.
Yeah.
You put your slide out and it doesn't come in.
Okay.
What do you do? That is like the big fear for every camper, right?
Yeah, right.
So first thing you do, call the dealership and get the service department.
Sure.
Same thing. Now, when I say call the dealership, we have people who have a ton of small things, and they're usually the engineers. You know who you are out there, right? You engineers, I'm talking to you. You like to write a very long email.
Right. Bulleted list. Yes, prioritize bulleted list.
Absolutely. In all the events relating to, and then 20 pictures with red circles, arrows, and explanations below each one.
Right.
You know what? It's overkill, but it's super helpful.
Sure.
Because the next thing that service is going to ask you to do, or that I'm going to recommend either way, is take a picture. Take a picture of it, because it might change when you rattle down the road again.
Yep.
And if you take a picture or a video, we can see exactly what's happening with the trailer. And I recommend that whether you just bought it or you've had it 10 years.
Yeah.
Get a picture and a video. When you have a car wreck, that's what the insurance company will tell you to do. Take a picture.
And another thing that they'll do that we recommend is not just a close-up picture of the component, but a close, a near, and a far.
Yes.
So that
sounds so silly to say.
I know, but it's context.
But we get these pictures and it's like, okay, I see a little bump in that line, but I can't tell at all what I'm looking at.
Right.
And so it really helps us to get the context so that we can understand what we're working with and help you better.
And again, we're dealing with manufacturers that sometimes change a component mid-run. So we don't know if we're talking a 2014 or 2014 and a half trailer where a component has changed. So this really helps.
Exactly. What if you get out there and your microwave doesn't work? So some people, they're going to call up that microwave company.
Right.
Or they're going to call up the manufacturer.
Right.
Right.
Or they're just going to call up the dealership. So what are they supposed to do?
Call the dealership.
But why?
Well, the dealership should be able to help you figure out if that component is under warranty. They should be able to file that warranty once they've seen the trailer and diagnosed it. By the way, folks, they can't diagnose it and file a warranty until
the trailer has to be in. They have to be able to have their hand on it in person. Man. You can't diagnose over the phone, not even over video. We aren't able to do that. Warranty departments simply at the manufacturer level, they simply don't accept it.
Yeah, and they don't accept it from us, and then they won't pay us, and we've got. We ordered you a microwave. It's sitting here, but nobody's going to pay us because we didn't run the right tests on it, or we didn't have the right documentation or pictures or write-up. So a dealership is always going to want to see it because even if we sold it, we love you guys. We want to
Right.
take care of you, but we also want to get paid.
Well,
It's just we got to get paid for it, and so we have to see the trailer.
and this is a thing that we've had to kind of train our people on in the past is, though we might have the heart to help diagnose over the phone. I mean, we want you to be camping, stay camping and all that. We simply can't really give you the best service unless you heed the warning of, it's not a warning, heed the offer of, hey, bring it in.
Yeah. And, we totally get that that's not easy and not always practical.
Right.
So,
But we do our best work if you bring it in.
and sometimes we can't do warranty work any other way because you don't want to pay for it and we don't want to pay for it if it's wrong. That's regardless of how long you've had your trailer, if there is a warranty, that's always the bugaboo.
Yeah.
The dealership has to see it and get it approved. So what happens there? We order parts. We have to order them through the warranty system. But then what? We have to wait.
Yeah.
And some people say, well, you've got one right out there. Why don't you just grab that one?
Right.
But then we've got another one down. They don't pay us the labor to take this one out and put that one in. So you're adding a few hours to this repair job that we don't get paid for. And we have a unit down and no guarantees of new stuff coming in. And you get a piece of equipment that's already been installed somewhere else.
Right.
So it gets all mixed up. The VINs don't match. You could have warranty issues down the line.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
just a super bad idea.
Absolutely.
So
Sure.
That's another thing that comes at us. Okay, so you've had this trailer. It's out of warranty. You have a big problem. So what do? You call the manufacturer of the trailer? Or do you call the manufacturer of the component? We've seen a lot of this with axles.
Yes.
So Dexter
And-
Axle has a problem. You
Right.
call Dexter.
Which might sometimes work out just fine. Sometimes it's even a logistical thing. You might actually be close to their factory. I've seen that before. But
For do-it-yourselfers, it can be helpful.
It can be, but most of the time I've noticed that, particularly in the online forums like on Facebook and all that, people will be butting their heads against the wall and not getting anywhere. And they'll finally be like, okay, I'll deal with the service center. I know they're backed up, but a service center does have some type of relationship.
That's right.
With these component companies and the manufacturers of the truck. They have different people that they get to talk to in-house oftentimes. So they might be able to make something go faster.
Well, I will honestly say, if you're a serious do-it-yourselfer and you want to put those axles on yourself to save money, call Dexter, see if they'll send them to you. And I'm only using axles as a example.
Sure.
See if they'll send it to you. But more often than not, they don't have a direct consumer connection there with most of these parts manufacturers.
Right.
So then what happens is you say, oh no, send it to Princess Craft. Well, we don't have any record. We can't file a warranty.
Right.
We got nothing but an axle that showed up at our door.
Right.
And they were like, And then guess what? If the axle isn't the problem, they don't pay us.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well,
So you're saying that we've had this happen before where someone has contacted, back to axles, we'll just say axles, contacted an axle company and said, hey, just send it to Princess Craft. An axle just shows up with someone's name on it at Princess
things
Craft.
just show up here sometimes.
So we don't know what's going on. This is our first introduction to the situation, and we have to bring that into our shop so it's not getting rained on and all that. We have to store it, and then we have to find out how to contact you because
Who is this?
Who is this? You may not be a customer of ours, or you might. Then we can look you up. And then you're like, I can come in 2 months. So now we're storage. Right.
Or the opposite happens, Clint. Sometimes people call us and say, hey, I was told they dropped off my axle yesterday, so I'm going to be in tomorrow for you guys to put it on. And we're like, our techs are already promised for, right now, right now it is, what is it, July 1st?
Right.
When we're recording this. And I hate to say we're booking for October.
We are. Which means that there are people already on our schedule for all of our techs
And if I hire another tech, I'll have a little more space. But right now, we have promises going that far along.
And we're in a situation that every dealership I've heard of is in.
Yeah,
Everybody's trying to hire more techs.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
It's not that we are, they are, everyone is.
Well, and I don't want to whine about all of this. You know, it's maybe I'm just like that other guy saying, I don't want to be that guy. You know, we don't want to whine. We don't want to say we have it so bad because we're so busy. No, we want to help everybody. But it's really tough for us sometimes when people go straight to the builder of whatever little part it is, or the manufacturer, and they get something approved and we're not in on it or in the middle of it. Well, it makes it a little tougher.
And let's say back to the axles again. Mm-hmm. It shows up. The guy says, no, I just need some of your guys to help me load it. Well, it's there's a certain responsibility there that we never signed up for and all that.
Well, what if the part comes in damaged
or wrong? And then they say, can you ship it back for us? Well, what do you?
Yeah. Well, now what?
But we didn't. We shouldn't have to do a packaging this back up.
We didn't buy it.
Yeah. So anyways, let's move on from axles.
It gets really messy that way. So most dealerships, if they have a good service department, they will know. And as we take axles as our just example, because there's been kind of some axle craziness in the past year or two.
Sure.
We're used to it. We're used to dealing with Dexter. We know exactly who to call. We know exactly what to measure. We know exactly how to file the paperwork. We know how to do that. And if we don't know, we have somebody on our staff that is paid to figure it out for you.
That's right.
So I hope all dealerships are in that position. That's generally how it works.
Right.
So that is my recommendation. Take pictures, get armed and dangerous, email or call a service department, and present your case and try to get assistance.
But what if you go through the dealership, they have all the right people in place, and things still aren't moving as fast as you would like?
Well,
I mean, is there anything that can be done, or is there just a little bit of, we need to be realistic?
Well, maybe that's the other half of this podcast, what to expect.
Yeah.
Because maybe your expectations are not realistic. Maybe they are, and you're getting bad service.
Maybe they're 2018 or 2019 style expectations when Amazon was still delivering everything so fast. Everything was available and all that. Whereas 2020, 2021, now 2022, man, I still have those desires for immediacy. For instantaneous service and all that, but the workforce isn't there, and the components aren't there, and logistics are still hamstrung.
Well, this is a tough one, because what to expect? You should expect to be contacted. If they say it's going to be 3 months before we get this part, it might be 3 months. Sometimes manufacturers don't give us any time frame because they're waiting on a boat.
Right.
They just don't know.
Right.
But sometimes they can say, we usually have it within 6 weeks. If you feel like you want to check up on it, they say, I will call you when the part's in. It might be 6 weeks. They may not call you in 6 weeks.
Right.
But you could call back in 3 weeks and say, hey,
just checking in.
Has anything changed?
Sure.
Just checking in. I never think that's a bad thing. Every customer has the right to an update. Now, if the dealership, it would be great if they called you every 2 weeks and said, hey, I've checked up. It looks like it's still on track.
Right.
It's tough to do. Service writers handle hundreds of open work orders per person.
Sure.
So it's tough. We try to get better at that. We try to put things in place. But if you ever want to know where it's at, call them and ask them. If you don't get appropriate answers, then kick it up a notch and ask for the service manager.
Sure.
That is always appropriate. In my eyes, I think you should expect friendly, helpful service. What you might not get is an immediate part and a quick install.
Right.
It takes time. One question you can ask if you're in that position, hey, this isn't an Excel issue. This is a microwave that doesn't work. Right. So can I just pick up my unit and use it? And when the microwave comes in, you can give me a call and we'll come back.
which we do pretty often.
We do it all the time.
For multiple reasons. It gets you camping. It gets you doing what you want to be doing anyway, sans microwave, which is generally fine for people who are camping. They can figure out a workaround for that. But it takes some of that pressure off. First off, you're camping, so you feel better about the whole thing, right? We feel better because you're not missing a camping season.
Right. Nobody wants that.
When we can't do anything for you.
Right.
And we're not going to be complaining about having a little bit extra space behind the shop that your camper would be occupying. Go camping. If you can go camping, even with a component that we're waiting on not being there, go camping.
Yeah. A lot of people don't think of that. We have to remind them, hey, if you want to go camping for the summer, this might take 6 weeks to get this part in. Well, you can bring it back in September.
Sure. Now, obviously, there's components that you can't do that. It might be the axle. This poor axle's getting beat to death.
Are y'all tired of hearing about axles? I think I'm tired of talking about them.
But if it is something like a microwave or something, by all means, take the option to camp.
Yep. Can we talk about one more thing with repairs?
Yeah.
A lot of times customers bring a unit in and we have to tell them, we didn't find a problem.
Yeah, but you know what? I've dealt with that with vehicles, with trucks and cars too. Well, it's hard it's hard sometimes to replicate a problem.
Right. It's true. But usually a car, it's like, when I'm going 65 down the highway, it makes this noise.
Right.
But only sometimes.
Right.
And so I get it with a car, but with an RV, it's like, no, the AC shuts off after 7 minutes,
Right.
And I couldn't get it to come back on.
Or it kicks on repeatedly.
Yeah,
or
whatever.
Real short succession. Yeah.
And so we bring it in and we can't duplicate that problem here.
In which case, if it's a warranty issue, we can't duplicate. We can't move a warranty issue along if we can't document it. And if it's something like that, we got to send photos and video and all that stuff. So, okay. So what happens?
So, at that point, we have to say, next time it happens, give us a call and record what's happening so we can understand.
Right.
Sometimes people say it happens every 5 seconds and then the wife nudges them and says 5 minutes. Well, that's different, right? 5 seconds or 5 minutes of something cutting off. So, we need to be sure that we can see what's happening, but then it may be something about where you're camped, where you're plugged in.
Sure.
So if you can't get it diagnosed at a dealership, when it's happening, call them back and say, what can I check? Any ideas here of what I can do while it's happening? And a good service department will try to help you with that. Okay. But sometimes there's no problem found because it was like, let's use the air conditioner. I went camping recently and I borrowed a camper and the cord was connected to an extension cord. A very long extension cord. So guess what? The air conditioner didn't work.
Yeah.
And they said, well, it worked in the shop. And I was like, yeah, just it didn't get enough power because this cord is way too long.
Right. And this is where not everybody is an electrical engineer. So they don't understand what long runs of small gauge extension cords attached to,
I knew exactly what was happening.
Exactly.
So I knew that the air conditioner wasn't broken.
Right. It just wasn't getting fed enough power to kick
that's
on.
That's right. But if I was a new camper, I might not know that. Right.
And you might not be, you might be artistic and not mechanically or electrically gifted. Maybe your strengths aren't going to make it easy to explain that. What do you mean? I plug in anything in my life. Anything I've ever plugged in my life worked when I plugged it in and there was electricity. I know there's electricity. Why is this not working?
Yes. So when those things happen and it's a no problem found from the dealership, again, that's when you call and say, it's happening again. What's the problem? And hopefully they can help you figure out what's happening.
We live in a world of video conferencing. If you're in a place with data service, that might work.
Yeah.
Sorry, everybody. I just chewed some ice on the microphone. I'm so sorry. I just realized that.
Well, we've had a hot day and it's near the end. So with an AC as an example, sometimes we have people saying it's too loud. We have a way to check that here, and we can say it is, and I hate these words. Y'all ready for it? Working as designed.
Right.
If it's within the manufacturer's specs, there is nothing we can do about it.
Correct.
I hate that.
And then someone will be like,
true.
Then why would you sell something like this?
Well, because these units have loud air conditioners.
They do.
Air conditioners are like a window unit.
RV air conditioner beast.
How many people have window units anymore? We forget how loud they are.
Yeah.
They're obnoxious.
Right.
And, another thing with an AC, we're in Texas. It gets pretty stinking hot here.
Sure.
Right? So they're saying this AC, it just takes forever to cool. Well, if all your windows are open and you don't have a very insulated camper,
right,
it might take a long time to cool. The only thing we can do is we can test the air coming out of the air conditioner vent. And if it is 20 degrees below
the ambient air
outside temperature air, then it's working as designed.
Right.
That's the best it can do.
And let me just say, 20 degrees is about the max you can expect usually out of those things. And so in Texas, when it does hit 110, it's going to be 90 degrees in your trailer.
Yes.
And that's working as designed.
And that is unfortunately one piece to this repair thing. So when you're thinking about things happening in your trailer and it's something that's operating, but maybe not operating up to your standards, then think about that. And you know what? If you want to, and this is just me talking, I'll probably get so much flack for this. Leave your comments.
Here comes the flack.
But yeah, it is. You can read the paperwork that's in there, but it is so general. It's usually not helpful. So what's the next thing people do? They go to the forum, and sometimes forums will have good answers, and sometimes it will just be a waterfall of doom and gloom, bad news, and angry people.
And the thing is, emotional answers, an emotional answer doesn't make it right or wrong, but it does make us a little bit more blind, But sometimes, I will say, sometimes on forums, you do get, oh, I didn't think of that. Okay, I'll check that. Right.
Because maybe it is 10 o'clock at night. You can't exactly call a service department.
Yeah. So what if you do buy something? You're new to RVing. You buy a new RV, and the AC doesn't cool as much as you think. It's not like your residential RV, so it doesn't match your expectations. This could be the same thing as a refrigerator. You have a 3-way refrigerator in there, and it doesn't cool as fast as your home refrigerator, and it's not as efficient. There's so many things that this could apply to.
Right.
Your equipment doesn't perform as you expect them to.
Right.
You're new to RVing, you have a new RV, and it's just the equipment's not living up. And you go to your salesperson, an RV dealership, and you go, you sold me something that doesn't live up to my expectations. Okay. So what do we do? What can be done there? I mean, you had the internet at your hand, and you had the
Very
specs.
Tough.
You could have asked a lot of questions. You did a full walkthrough before you signed papers, all this stuff. And you said, well, then you hoodwinked me.
Well, just to put this in perspective.
Yes.
Clint, have you ever bought a car?
Yes.
Driven it home?
No.
Now you're just making it harder. So you buy a car, you drive it home, and 2 months later, you come back and say, this isn't doing what it should do. And you need to just buy it back from me.
Yeah. Why is my Prius not winning races? And actually, Priuses are pretty fast. Why am I not going down?
We're so bad at examples.
Fire roads and 4-wheel drive trails in my Prius. Why is it not performing like that?
I don't know. I don't know what
my
it would
expectations
be.
were not right. Now that's pretty extreme what I just gave.
Well, but cars just drive.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're talking about RVs, this is a house.
It is. It's a mobile house.
It's got an air conditioner. It's got slide outs.
You have expectations.
All kinds of big pieces that
you're
need to
imparting
move
on it from your residential life. Your residential life and your RV life, they are going to be different, and they're actually supposed to be different.
Yeah, well,
your air conditioner is not one that you want them to be so different in, but it is. It's a different system.
But most people that I find are disappointed in power.
Yeah,
the power of
yes.
it.
Yeah.
The power coming in, how long they could camp without plugging it in, what their 12 volt will run. That is generally the not living up to my expectations. Or if they have several problems, then within a few months, they're like, I have a lemon.
Right. Just sour on the deal. And they may be like 10, which is a lot, but 10 fixable things. But 10 things seems like a real big list when it's a new thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard for us to tell what happened to it, too.
Yeah.
I've seen units that went out just fine and somehow came back with 10 water leaks.
Oh.
And I'm like,
what water source was this hooked up to?
Yeah, what exactly happened here? Or a slide out that went in and out 15 times here just fine. And then all of a sudden it comes back 2 weeks later and it's somehow crimped. And I'm like, what happened?
Yes.
And they're like, well, it wasn't there when I bought it. So all of the craziness aside, I think that, people need to have the expectation that it's an RV, but it should be operational.
Sure.
And if your unit is brand new, especially within the first year, document what's happening. Be sure you understand how it's supposed to work, and then call the service department and ask for help. Right. They should help you. Right. And if they say, oh man, there's nothing I can do for you on the phone here. Sounds like you're plugged in correctly. I can't diagnose it any further. Bring it in. Now they're not going to sit there and teach you how to diagnose it in 2 hours, through it. But they should be sure that it isn't, to the best of their ability, an operator error. Document the problem, set that appointment, bring it in, and let them help you. If you don't get the attention or the service that you're hoping for, elevate it up and be sure that you understand what they're able to do to help you.
Right. So I'm of the mindset when I'm the customer that if my expectations were wrong and my new whatever's I bought doesn't fully meet my expectations, I'm of the mind that that's on me. And that, yes, I would have loved to have understood something better, but I did have the opportunity. I was never forced into buying a car. I was never forced into buying an RV. I had time to think about it, to do my research, to look it over in person, to ask more questions. Maybe I didn't ask enough questions. Maybe I didn't ask the right questions. Maybe I was assuming too much, and maybe the salesperson, because I like to come across as smart, even though I know better. So maybe
everyone does, Clint. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Maybe I hoodwinked the salesperson to thinking I knew more than I knew. So they felt like they didn't have to provide information that they were pretty certain I knew because I acted the part so good.
Well, the reality is all new buyers, there's too much information to soak in, especially if you're not used to RVs.
Right.
So that's always part of it. Let your service department help you, not your sales department. And then if you've had it for a while and, you've had this trailer for 3 years, then, contact the service department first. If you don't get the answers that you need there, or you feel really stuck, you might want to contact the manufacturer or the builder of that component after that. Right. But I always say it's best not to start there. Get connected with a service department, because 95% of the time they've seen it before. They know what to do. Right. And then be patient, because what to expect about how long it's going to take, man, we've had entire podcasts on that, and it could be quick or it could not be. And one more thing, with parts that sometimes take a unreasonable amount of time, even if it's warranty, customers sometimes call the manufacturer and say, look, I've been waiting on this part for 6 weeks. And they say, oh, okay, I'll ship it right out to the dealership tomorrow. And then the customer is so mad at us. Right. But we've been asking for it for 6 weeks. And they're like, no, we're not pulling it off the line. But when there's a really angry customer, they pull it off. I'm not saying don't do that. because sometimes it's effective.
But the thing is, it doesn't mean the dealership
doesn't mean the
doing their
dealership
job.
isn't trying, because there are tons of dealerships looking for that part.
Right.
And if they shipped them out to everybody, their line would be short.
And
so it's been this big balancing game.
And manufacturers also need a lot of those components to actually build the promised units that they've already promised dealerships or customers or pre-sold. So they're having to balance there too. So maybe you did get really vocal with the manufacturer and got them to pull one, and you think, well, my dealership was lying to me. They didn't get vocal like this. Well, we have real relationships, long-standing relationships. We buy hundreds of trailers and campers. We have to maintain relationships.
And we may have 5 more of those parts on order, and they're not going to send us 5. But if you holler, they might send. Well, I don't know. It's a crazy thing. But that doesn't
mean that the service department was wronging you.
Now everybody's going to be calling the manufacturer and going around their dealer. Oh, we've just created a mess. But I will tell you, sometimes it works.
Most of the manufacturer personnel that I know of, they're mature enough to know how to respond to that correctly and not to throw their dealerships under the bus.
Well, I hope so.
Most of them.
We have, we can't stay on track with anything. We have rambled all over this map.
Sure.
So what are your takeaways? I have a trailer.
Yeah.
It breaks.
That's my takeaway is, and this is how I've, I guess, been taking things away for a few years now.
Okay.
My takeaway on this is stuff happens.
Yeah.
And I'm dealing with a lot of people, and they're all living very real lives, just like I am. And things may not be as immediate and move as fast as I want them to. But by golly, things can get fixed, or things can be changed somehow. I don't need to be a big bummer about it. And I don't need to ruin everyone else's lives about it.
Well, for the most part, we have magnificent customers here, even in service.
We do.
I just always want to try to help those people who have trouble struggling with how to fix this, what do I do next, and maybe not having the right expectations. So, first thing is be a good human.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah, be a good human. Second thing is, if it's under warranty, call your dealership service department. If it's not under warranty, call anybody you want to.
Yeah, even a mobile tech or something like that, because there's some talented guys out there.
Document your problem.
You name it. Because they go through if you want a new career, let me just throw this out there. Can I throw this out there?
Of course.
Everyone listening, if you want to change career, you want to do something different in an area that you like, the service industry in RV maintenance and repair has forever, since the beginning of the industry, been understaffed. And there is no better training and no better time available than right now. So if you would like to work in a service center or be a mobile tech, by golly, folks, get good training and get after it now.
Yeah. There's 2 training schools out now that are very popular. There's more than that, but the 2 that we see the most is NRVTA right down the road.
We have a listener who actually went to
we have lots of people.
And one of them, Sebastian, I want to say, I don't think I can pronounce this right. Sebastian, I'm sorry, because I think you're going to listen to this.
Well, then don't pronounce it.
So Sebastian of VSC, I think. All right. He went to one of those training schools last year, and he is doing a bang up job. He's switching careers. He's doing a bang up job from everything I can tell. I'd actually like to get him on and just hear his story arc.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there is a job listing of the top needed jobs, and I think RV technician was number 1 or 2 last year. So it's crazy. Plenty of jobs out there. Needed. They pay well.
Tell your kids who are coming out of high school.
Yeah, it's a good place to start.
Floundering after school or whatever. After that age, do we go to college or not? Yeah. This is a good trade, folks, and you can run and you can do a whole career in it.
So NRVTA or RVTI, both. RVTIA, I always get that mixed up. But anyway, you can find that online. You simply go to school and they teach you everything you need to know. So where was I? You can go to, so you've got the problem. Be a good human was the first thing. See, we can't finish a thought. We just ramble.
That's how I exist.
I know. Be a good human. Call a service department. Document the problem. Okay? and then be patient.
Yeah.
And if you're not getting the responses that you think are reasonable, then roll it up the chain.
Sure.
I will tell all my customers that.
Yeah.
If you're not getting the response that you think you deserve from the service department, and be sure it's reasonable, then roll it up because the person above them wants to know.
Sure.
And that will help you help the dealership become better and get the information that you need. And if you ever can find a way to stay camping while your parts are coming in.
I want to bring that up. Thanks for doing that.
Do that. Yeah. Stay camping as long as you can, unless it is a prohibitive problem. And just, enjoy your RVs. Don't let a broken widget ruin your day.
Absolutely.
Things break.
Absolutely.
Things break.
Okay, well, I think that wraps it up.
I think we could talk for hours, but I think we have covered the bases.
Very good. Everybody, don't forget, this is the RV Small Talk podcast. You can find us at rvsmalltalk.com or on social media or on YouTube. RV Small Talk podcast. We're easy to find. Join us there. Like, subscribe, review, please. It does help us out. Join us on Fridays in the afternoon, 12:30 Central Time is what we're aiming for. And you can actually speak with us or type to us, converse with us directly in real time, and we'll do our best to think these things through right then and there. Even if we look uncomfortable, we'll do it.
We always look uncomfortable, don't we?
It's true. So once again, thank you so much for joining us for this episode, and we will see you next time.
Hey, you guys have a good holiday weekend. See you later.